I am Julia Rosenthal. I am the owner and founder of Empower Physical Therapy, and I am super excited to welcome you to the first ever Empower Physical Therapy vlog. We're going to be creating these little short episodes that are answering questions that we get a lot from our clients, so that hopefully you can tune into these things and learn a little bit more about different stuff that we're seeing with our clients and the kinds of questions that we get a lot, and hopefully use this information yourself to be useful to you if you're having any of the types of symptoms that we see in our clinic, and then also potentially understand if there's something that you're struggling with but haven't been able to get help with that you could be getting help for. So all of those things are definitely stuff we're going to be talking about moving forward. If you watch one of these and there's a question you really want us to answer, please send it. We would love to get feedback from all of you about what you would want us to be talking about so that we can answer your questions super directly. And with that, I'm going to get started with our first episode, which is going to be about a question that I recently got in my inbox on Instagram, asking me whether or not it's safe for pregnant women to do the Valsalva maneuver. If you don't know what the Valsalva maneuver is, basically it is a strategy of breathing where you fill up with air really big and then you hold your breath, and it helps to create tension and stiffness in your trunk. So what I mean by that is basically this whole area here. For example, like if you're going to do a heavy squat or heavy barbell squat or other implement squat, and you need to be able to create a lot of stiffness in the trunk, the Valsalva maneuver can help you create that stiffness with your core musculature so that your spine and all of the other parts of your body that are going through that movement have good stability as you do it. So in answer to the question, I have a multi-part answer to the question, because I think there's a couple of different reasons why pregnant women are often counseled not to do the Valsalva maneuver. And pregnant women who have been weightlifting might feel worried about that, because they might be feeling like, well, how am I going to continue my weightlifting routine if I'm not allowed to use a Valsalva maneuver? I'm not going to be able to lift heavier weights. So the reason that a lot of pregnant women are told not to use a Valsalva maneuver, there's a couple of reasons. The first reason is that some people have had concerns about a decrease in oxygenation of the placental blood flow. There have been a couple of studies that have tried to refute that, but it's a difficult thing to refute. The reality is, though, that the amount of time that people spend straining when they feel constipated on the toilet or holding their breath for all kinds of other reasons that might come up in regular day-to-day life is usually longer than the couple of seconds that it takes to perform a heavy lift. So there's no evidence that there is a risk in terms of oxygenation of the placental blood flow. And not only that, there is actually not a specific recommendation from ACOG, which is the governing body of gynecologists, that specifically recommends against the Valsalva maneuver during pregnancy. So that recommendation is really coming out of a place of just an abundance of caution rather than any actual evidence that it would be harmful to the fetus. The other reason that people counsel against a Valsalva maneuver during pregnancy is that they're worried that it might have negative impacts on the pelvic floors of the people doing the Valsalva maneuver or lifting the heavy weights. And people counsel against lifting heavy weights during pregnancy also, which is like a whole other topic. Spoiler alert, I'm pro heavy weights during pregnancy as long as it's feeling good. But the reason that people are concerned is that the Valsalva maneuver is really using the pressure in the system. So the pressure that you can create using your diaphragm, your pelvic floor, and your core muscles as a way to create stability for a lift. And so there is some concern among some providers that that amount of pressure is unhealthy for the pelvic floor. There is actually a pretty good amount of research that that is not true. There was a huge survey study that followed up with a lot of women who had continued to lift heavy throughout their pregnancies, and those people had they felt better during their pregnancies, they felt better in the postpartum period, and they didn't have any increase of negative outcomes relative to other populations. In fact, in some ways, they had less stuff going on both during their pregnancies and postpartum. Basically, the short answer is there is no indication that it's unsafe, But as a pelvic floor physical therapist, I can make sure, and we at Empower Physical Therapy can make sure that people know how to do it effectively, and that if it is creating any kind of pelvic floor symptom, or if those heavier lifts are contributing to any kind of pelvic floor symptoms, that we can address why that's happening, change the strategy, and then make sure that people can continue to lift safely, because all the evidence has indicated that doing that is actually beneficial for pregnancies. So I hope that that answers your question, if you had it, about whether or not it's safe to use a Valsalva maneuver during pregnancy. I will link those studies in the comments of this post so that you can check them out if you're interested. And if you have any follow-up questions, please feel free to comment, feel free to message me. I would love to hear from you and to hear more about what you want to learn about. So I'm looking forward to being back with more information really soon.